Hello YouTube, this is Mickey D back again with another episode of Stationeers, episode 63, picking pretty much right up where we left off at the last episode, and I'm going to go change my suit battery before we go do anything. And the plan is on this episode, we're going to do some work on the greenhouse. And the logic there, since now our CO2 is all purged and good to go, we can now, let me go see what we want to do in here. What I want to do, which obviously this is not, let's throw this back over here. Hey, MacGyver. So we've got this system, which is controlling the temperature, but I want to expand it. Hey, Mr. Montuk. I'm going to expand this to also monitor the pressure in the room and maybe the gas ratio, which I have not set up either of those, so it should be kind of interesting. And I didn't mention it in the last episode, but if the stream suddenly ends, it means my internet is cut out. It did once earlier today. We've got a severe weather alert. We're supposed to have really high winds come through. Not sure exactly when. Why am I reading a temperature in there? Why do we suddenly have... I wonder if we had some, why are we getting, we may have some pressure. We might have had a little bit of pressure in here since I just opened the door. That's kind of weird because it was reading nothing before. I just want to make sure it suddenly doesn't jump up, that we've suddenly blown a line. Where are we getting pressure coming in from? Yeah, we've got plenty in there. Is it maybe because I pulled the tanks out? I mean, it shouldn't. Strange. I mean, pulling that out, I mean, it was empty. I shouldn't have put anything into the system. Oh, well, that would be why the gas generator kicked in, I'm assuming. Why did we suddenly drop so low on power? Okay, that's strange. Oh, that's the problem. That can't read, so it's throwing it off. All right. Well, there's some really weird bug in the system now. All right. And then the whole plan for the episode just goes down the drain. All right. What is going on here? Let's pull this open. I can't imagine why that's not reading all of a sudden. Now, we did just hook up in the last episode. We hooked up the other... We hooked up the other battery. Potential... And what is kicking on and off? That's really weird. Is it down here? Okay, well, let's go grab the cable reader. Yeah, it's down there, because now I'm not hearing it. Unless there's something that's transferring through. I mean, if anything, we should be losing less power, because these should be able to kick off now. And I want to double check on this, because I bet we are reading oxygen, nitrogen. No, why are we getting oxygen, nitrogen, and hydrogen? Because we should be, if it's the generator running, we should be reading carbon dioxide and pollution as well. Oxygen, nitrogen, and hydrogen. I don't get why we're reading those three. I don't get where it's coming from either. Huh. Well, there's nothing running. All the purge valves should be shut. Yes. Purge valves are all shut. The radiator's shut. Okay. Strange. Just magically appearing pressure in the pipes. Now, it could be because the temperature's changing. I mean, that does affect the pressure. But we seem to be staying at a constant about 1 kPa. It's almost like a line burst somewhere, but it was really low pressure. Oh, look. The line caught on fire again. We've got carbon dioxide. Why do we have carbon dioxide in there? We don't have pollution, so it doesn't act like it's burned. That's 100%. That's 100%. And if we take this, why are we getting CO2 in there? I'm going to check that. I'm wondering if we've got... Oh no, nothing's running from the greenhouse. I mean, we have a pipe coming in. Either way, that shouldn't be tying into... That shouldn't be tying in. Okay. So we've got a CO2 line coming in somewhere that should not be. We should not be getting CO2 in our oxygen line. Whoa. That's kind of all over the... Okay, we got something weird going on here. Okay. Carbon dioxide, nitrogen. Oh, well, okay, that's my jetpack. That's why it's reading like that. But, really? And come on, devs. Move the handset up so I can see it. But yes, so we're getting CO2 in the oxygen line. Not a good thing. So I'm thinking that either something in the greenhouse maybe is tied in. That's really weird. Yeah, we're going to have to check that. And that would explain why we got CO2 in there. Well, all right, so there's something to fix. Question is our O2 tank, which is over here. Nope, O2 tank's 100% pure, but we do have it back here. Oh, wait. O2 tank's 100% pure, but we have CO2 down here. Oh, that's really weird. Yeah, there's something. I'm assuming there's something that's cross connected somewhere. 23, 23.5. So that's, I think this, no, the tank's not quite that warm. So that's running down across. All right. So what is, nothing has changed, except we purged the tank, so it was circulating it basically. So I have a feeling it's something in the greenhouse. I mean, really, that's the only thing, unless, maybe, well, no, because we wouldn't actually be getting anything. The sleeper is tied in as well. So we'll have to test. It'll be that or the greenhouse. This should be the only two spots. I'm assuming it might be the greenhouse because this is a giant kind of. Oh, okay. Yeah, we can go over that real quick. And hang on, I'm gonna cough. Okay, so we basically have two main inputs. Uh, or okay, I'm not gonna go on the individual inputs. So gases, we can drop them off either here or outside, depending if the base is pressurized and heated. In this tank. Um, so if we need to drop our waste tank off, those all feed into the input lines, which is basically um, ties into, runs through the base, and that's what the returns run through. So it'll filter anything when we run them, which that is going to be revamped, but it does, they do work, or at least one of them or two of them do right now. And so everything comes in. There's a radiator line outside that's on the other side of this wall. And basically everything comes into the system, ends up coming through this way. So no matter if it comes through the furnace, return lines, greenhouse, anything that's tied into it, this is the main line coming back. So this line comes back, ties in. Volume pump is basically always, if it's, and with the new circuit, it's now detecting if there's pressure in this pipe, meaning that anything was put into it, kicks on the pump, pulls it through. Once it's on this side, this is basically an expansion chamber, so that, you know, if we dump a ton of stuff, say we purge out the furnace, we don't blow lines because we're overwhelming the system. Or, you know, if we need to move contents from one tank to an, or something, you know. Comes in here. There's a main line that runs all the way down underneath this floor, and there's a filter, so volatiles, and that's the tank for the volatiles. So it'll pull any volatiles basically off this line. And what it's doing is, so this is the input, so it's pulling through, and that is letting it output any volatiles. So then it goes into the tank. Any waste that's not volatiles comes back out and goes out, and then any of the other filters can pick it up. If they do. Supposedly I've heard that they don't. They just pick up, and it, you know, if it's connected in a system like this, each filter basically just grabs what it filters. But if it does actually run it through and output it, then it does output it. And then what we've done is, this is a purge valve. So if I open this valve, it's going to let it constantly recirculate from anything that's in the system, including the pipes, up to, you know, say like a mixer or something. And it's going to let it recirculate it, and until which we will automate eventually until the tank's at 100%. So if we get any contamination like we just did with the oxygen system, we can basically shut this purge valve or open this purge valve, and it'll let the filter keep filtering out, and it'll dump it out into, it'll basically dump it out into the wasteline, so the other stuff, because it won't let it come back in. Now, in conjunction with that, the AC system, we've now, with the new setup, which I do like a lot better and seems to be working a lot better, is it'll basically let it recirculate. So anytime, whatever we've got it set at, no matter what we dump into it, and we will automate that as well, it can basically, there's your input on the input on the AC, so it can constantly just recirculate this. It outputs it back into the same line, and since it always, whatever's in the pipe or the tank is always at the same temperature, you know, as long as it's connected, it'll just slowly cool off or heat it up, depending on which it needs. This runs to the radiator system, which runs all the way down around underneath the floor, comes back into here. Since we're running 100% pollution, it's just tied directly into the pollution tank. So if I need to top off the system or something, I can open this valve. It'll equalize the pressure. And then we may automate that later on if we ever need to. But really, as long as we get enough in there, well, say we expand the system, the radiators. So if we add more pipes in, it's going to drop the pressure on this side. So we can open the valve. And I will probably change that to a digital valve or change it to a volume pump on a pipe analyzer set up to a circuit. And it'll just say, you know, if the pressure is less than like 1.5 MPa, it'll kick in the valve or kick in the volume pump, let it run. And basically, you know, top it off. And then that way, because we don't want it to get below 100 kPa, because otherwise it'll start pulling, it'll contaminate the radiator system because it'll make up the difference with whatever the ACs are running through them. Now this is a purge system for the radiator. So if it does get contaminated, or, you know, we need to drain it for some reason or something, we can basically, we leave that valve shut, we open this one, the volume pump, it dumps into the main line, the volume pump circuit detects that there is pressure in it, and it'll run it through and basically recollect it into this tank. And then, you know, once it's all emptied out, zero pressure, you know, there'll be no contaminants in it, we can basically, you know, reactivate the valve and it'll send it through. And that's basically how the whole that's how the whole filtration system works. It's just, you know, same setup for basically every tank. The only ones that are a little bit different are the, you know, the pollution, because the radiators are tied into it. And then it just feeds off, you know, wherever the line needs to go, it's running off into it. You know, so this is running back. This is the water that's going to the greenhouse. Or it should be the oh. So 13.9. So that's aired out. It can't make the temperature. Yeah, because you want to pressurize the currently in the game, the pollutants are the best gas to transfer heat with, which kind of makes sense because, you know, you're generating it in like a furnace or a welder, or, you know, basically when you're burning something. So it kind of makes sense that they set it up to basically carry heat because, you know, anytime you're burning something, you're generating heat. So you basically want to pressurize and you can really use anything, but the system's not gonna work as well. It's not gonna transfer the heat as well. So, you know, we don't have to have 100% pollution, but that just gives you the best efficiency. And you want to pressurize that to at least 100 kPa. If you go, and I suggest pressurizing it more. And supposedly, the more you pressurize it, the better it is at transferring heat. So I usually leave it up around 1 MPa. If it drops below 100 kPa, whatever you're filtering, it will pull that out, or whatever you're cooling. So, if we had only pollution in here and it was at 90 kPa, if we were filtering or cooling like, let's say, CO2, then it's going to pull CO2, some of the CO2 out of the intake and dump it into the waste until it gets to 100 kPa. And then once it gets to 100 kPa, it's going to run it back through. Then it'll stop dumping it into there and dump it into the output again. So really, I mean, we're just trapping other gases that we could be using. And since there's really no other use for pollutants unless you want to use it for your jetpack, and since it is so good for heat transfer, then it makes sense that we just try to, because we've got a huge tank, but there was with a small tank that's up at 16 MPa basically. Yeah, and then that's pretty much what you want to do is your waste is your coolant. Yep. And now we've got to figure out, and why are we getting a temp error in that? Because that is not. Okay, now it's fine. Huh, I don't know why that one errored out. Yeah, because all the other ones are fine. Which they're slowly. Like I said, I'd hope they, I don't know. I might set up a circuit at some point later on to, we can make a small room and have it full of heaters and then run radiators through it and have it pull heat off. But then we have to do some really complicated circuit with like digital valves and say if it's heating, if the gas is less than the radiator, or the temperature, and so it knows that it's heating, kick on the air condition or the heaters, and run off of that line. So I don't know. That would be a pretty big setup. And so where are we getting? So anyway, we need to open this up and find out. Back to the whole greenhouse thing. We've got. All right. Where did I leave my pry bar? Did I drop it? Oh, right there. Nope. Oh, I thought that was the pry bar for a second. All right. Well, did anybody see where I left my pry bar? Because obviously I've placed it down in the battery room. Oh, that's right. Yes, because that was the other thing. We got to figure out why before that, we got to figure out what's going on with our power. And we needed, the whole thing we came up here for was the energy tablet, or the cable reader. Energy tablet is kind of a nice name, though. Well, that does. So why is that not? Oh. No. Wait a minute. That is reading one battery. And I'm wondering if when that battery goes dead, if it is pulling off of it. But what I don't get is why we're suddenly running so low. because we've been running the ACs, you know, without any issue. We've been running the filters without any issue. So we shouldn't suddenly be draining. And I'm still wondering, we've got something circulating somewhere, and I'm not seeing where it's. Oh, yeah, it's the gas generators kicking in. Yes, we know that. All right, that's just a symptom of the problem. Why are we draining so much power all of a sudden? Did I somehow cut a wire when I was down here? We shouldn't, because we should be. And autosave. Okay, let's pull this up. I mean, unless there's some bug that we can't have. Okay, why is it saying that there is no? Oh, you know what? Oh, that's what it was. So we pulled it when I pulled this up, because you know when I was saying, oh, they're not lit up, and I pulled it up and I placed it back down. It said, oh, stationary battery and maximum. That's it right there. That's why that was erroring out. But that still doesn't explain why our power drops so low. And I'm wondering if it's because the green. No, not the green. It's nothing to do with the greenhouse. 5.6 kilowatts. Required 20. The solar panels are on. I'm guessing the ACs are just suddenly drawing an insane amount of power. Probably because they're trying to heat. All right, well that got rid of that bug. But I'm wondering also if 17, okay, so the sun came up. I noticed there was a weird bug earlier where some of the solar panels weren't tracking. It was weird. I looked over and all of them were tracking except for like 5. So I don't really get that. And I wish these really divided the power evenly between the batteries, because it still doesn't. It kind of randomly picks one, charges it, jumps to another one, charges it, jumps to another one, charges it. And I'm thinking maybe now that the issue is where we added the other battery in, it's not charging all the way. But we were charging fine before, so I don't get why. Huh. Yeah, now it's dropping. Strange. I wish there was a way to read on the transformer, because it should just be splitting this between all the batteries. Or no, that's for coming in. Yeah, so the solar panel comes down, runs through. It's going to charge those. Yeah, the transformer's for coming in, back in from the generator. Huh. Well, I'm assuming just the ACs are drawing an insane amount of power now. It is dropping. Dropping quite a bit. I don't know why we had such a big spike. Where did all the... Okay, where did all the flooring go? I should have 3 pieces of flooring down here. Alright, well, we'll let it run and see what it does. I do want to go check the solar panels real quick, though, and make sure that they're all facing the right way, because there was a bug in that earlier. But then as I went up there, it corrected itself. The 5 that hadn't moved all of a sudden moved. So it was kind of strange. They are in... how do we have it wrapped? They would be in parallel because they all tie off of... they all feed off of the same line, so they don't pass through each other. I wonder if we had a bug with this again. Nope, that's charged. No, they all seem to be doing fine. Oh, I wonder, let's check the line and make sure I didn't actually cut one when I was welding the ceiling. And we're only getting power, partial power. Yeah, I'm guessing for some reason the solar panel spiked. Or the AC spiked is what the issue was. Huh. Okay. Well, it looks like we're getting all the power from them, and it looks like they're all... they're all tracking fine. Alright, yeah, it's just, oh, the power storage is in parallel as well. I mean, it doesn't pass through. I mean, yeah, because the only way to be in series is they would have to pass through each other. Oh, good. And they feed off of one main line that runs, yeah, right here. This line passes through in front. And since the bottom one's charging, then they should all be getting, you know, the front one's charging, bottom one's charging. Yeah, so we should be counting. So we should be good. Yeah, I'm just thinking it's the ACs are drawing so much. And it's probably because they're trying to heat. They're trying to heat, and I believe the radiators cooled down. So, see, it's slowly dropping. For some reason, there was a big spike. It was up at 20-something megawatts. And as you see, it keeps slowly dropping for the most part. I don't know why we got such a big spike off of it. So I'm gonna assume that's an early access bug, because we have not been draining that much power. You know, I mean, until I added the other battery, we were charging to 100% during the day, and it was only dropping down to 60% at night, and now we're dropping down to pretty damn low, because I think we have to drop... Well, are we dropping low enough? I thought we changed that to be 0.2. Oh, but it wasn't reading, so that might have been throwing it off. That might have been kicking the generator when it didn't need to kick in the generator. We should be battery count 7. Yeah, so when we get down to 20% power, it's kicking in. We don't have, well, the base isn't pressurized, so it's not running. There's no heating or cooling running for the base. The only ACs that are, when I mean ACs, I mean these ones. But we've had these running for, you know, I don't know, 4 episodes, 5 episodes maybe. And we've still been charging to 100% during the day. I think well, I don't know why there was the spike, but I think, well, for some reason we had a temperature spike. But as you can see, the radiator is still dropping. So the gases that it's trying to heat this to 30 degrees. The colder this gets, basically the more power the ACs draw, because it's trying to pull heat off of there. So they haven't really got that set up right. That's one of the issues with the ACs. So, you know, most of that's 4.3, which I still don't get why that for some reason that one has not really heated up. But the other stuff seems to be working pretty good. It might just be that since we're heating it up, because I believe most of these we are heating up, except for this one. This one we're cooling, and that might be why, because where we're cooling this, we were pulling the cold out of there, or we were pulling the heat out of there and dumping it into the system. And now where we're pretty much, it can pull heat out of it because it's still not basically absolute zero. It's just it takes more and more power as it gets lower. But I have a feeling that because this is probably getting close, there's not a lot of heat in there to pull out now. So it's making these work harder, because basically the heat was getting pulled out of that and dumped into, you know, the other tanks. Yeah, so that might be what was going on. But that doesn't really still explain the spike, because every time I go down there now and I'm reading it, we've got more and more. It's less and less of a draw. Which if it's because the ACs are working harder, then it should be, you know, if anything, the draw should be increasing until they max out at their, I think it's either 6 or 7 kilowatts. So I think we'll just let it run for now. Keep an eye on it. Yeah, see, now we're down to 13. It's still fluctuating. Well, now it's going back up. And is that because because the sun's going down. So at night, we're not getting as much heat out of the radiator. So it's ramping up the ACs. And then during the day, once the sun comes up, we're probably, even though they're in the shade, yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. Which I think is a bug, because I believe if they're in the shade, they're supposed to work the same during the day and the night, because as long as they're not getting hit by direct sunlight. So there might be a bug in there. But obviously, so now we're not even, you know, we're not charging all the batteries now. Yeah, well, it's, you know, it's an early access, so I expect some bugs. I'm not going to worry about it, because at the worst, our backup generator is going to kick in. And we have, you know, that thing is pretty efficient. Well, not pretty efficient, but it puts out a lot of power. It just makes, you know, it makes the system kick in more, because obviously then it's saying, oh, there's gases in this system. And that's where I want to add the buffer in at some point, because right now it's just set to, if it's above 0, because it doesn't really matter, whatever we set it to. If we set it to 1,000, it gets to 1,000.001, it's going to kick in. So it's kind of the same either way. So I want to set it so, like, if it says, if you get to 1,000, run until you get to like 0, and then let it get to 1,000, run until you get to 0, and then that way it'll give it some time in between. It'll build up an amount, especially since it seems like the volume pumps work better if there's more pressure. All right, so I think that's what's going on. That's what it seems like, or at least for our power draw. But the other issue is we got to find out why we've got CO2 mixed in with our oxygen supply. And like I said, I'm supposing that that is something with the greenhouse. Yeah, I know. And that's what I think is going on, because we had, the pollution was pretty hot. We've now cooled it down, and now there's, we're not offsetting the radiator system cooling. The one way around that is we could shrink the radiator system some, and it's not, except right now we're kind of cooling everything, so it's not really going to help too well. We're heating stuff, because the radiator system wouldn't be able to get as cold. I bet when we start running the greenhouse, oh, that's another system. You know what we might do is I might get rid of that external greenhouse radiator. Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking, because what I can do is, we were having issues of sometimes of, like, that radiator system was heating up a little bit. So what I might do is just extend that pipe around, tie into the main radiator system, and then the greenhouse will be dumping any heat it generates into the radiator. In conjunction with that is we can shrink the radiator system a little bit, and it won't be able to, it'll keep a little bit of heat in there. And maybe we can get a happy balance between, we shouldn't, once we get all the gases up to temperature, we shouldn't really have this issue, because, the problem was we kind of mixed everything together, and like right now, I'm going to turn off that and that, because those are close enough anyway, and when we pressurize the base, it'll slowly heat it up. Honestly, water doesn't matter, really. I'm just bringing it up. I mean, these are pretty close. Hydrogen doesn't matter because we're not going to do anything with it, really. I mean, the pollution I like to keep cold, and I think I will, because we're pulling the heat out of it and dumping it into the radiator system. The greenhouse I do want to, just so it's close. So we'll leave that one running. That should really drop down our power draw, and we can actually just turn these completely off if we're not going to run them right now. And that's why I do want to get those on a logic circuit, so that it's going to kick on and off the AC based on what the tank is. And then that way it completely shut it off when it does not need it. And then, if we'll give it like a little bit of a buffer range as well. So, we'll say 25 to 35 or something. That way it'll cool down and then go back up. Because we are probably as well, as it pulls the as it circulates the CO2, it's going to be, we've got this set to 30, but the CO2, the room is set to like 36.8, I think is what it is. So it should be dumping, the AC is going to be wanting to try to cool that, so we'll be dumping some heat out of there. And now we're going to pull this open and see if we can figure out what is going on. I'm assuming when we redid all that, I crossed a line somewhere. And honestly, I don't see how it would be in here, because this was working fine. And we didn't change anything in here. So, I don't think we're going to get to that episode in this one, or get to that circuit in this episode, since we've got to kind of straighten this out. So let's see. That's our return line coming in. We should be fine. This is actually trying to circulate right now, but there's nothing in here. That's where I want to tie in with the pressure as well, because if this is not pressurized, we obviously don't need this filter system running. So 100%. There's no contamination on the CO2 side. At least up here. Okay, now there's CO2, O2 there. But that had actually a lot of... That's the waste pipe. Okay, there's something... Yeah, something's not hooked up right, because we were seeing that in the tank, but it should have back pulled all the way to here. So that tells me that there's something's hooked up, or there's a splitter somewhere. Not a splitter, like a pressure regulator. And I'm assuming it's going to be somewhere up in here. So CO2, O2. This is the line that should not be mixed. This should be... Oh. No, that can't be it. I was thinking maybe we hooked up the waste line over on that end wrong. But I dumped a fuel tank in there as well, so we would be seeing pollution in here. Or not pollution, but we'd be seeing hydrogen in here as well, and we're not. CO2, O2. So, and this oxygen, that's running to this. Okay, it's coming off of the, yeah, it's coming off of the sleeper. My question is, oh, look at that. 182 degrees. And dropping. Okay, no, that's fine. That is that's the gas generator ran. So because this ties into the main waste line. Though you would, oh yeah, 10 kPa. Yeah, so it's not that much in there. Yeah, so you see it's draining it back out now. So we should actually be pulling some heat out of that as well, which is good. And you can see we're burning pretty cleanly. We've only got 5% H2 left over after it burns. Yeah, so that's fine. This line, though, goes over to the sleeper. So there's something messed up in that system. And this line also runs down, because on this side, and there's quite a bit in there too. But that's quite a bit. I'm assuming it's the line that's tied into the sleeper, the airlock. Yeah, and then that's empty, so that's fine, because that's where that vent ties into, and it should be where the sleeper ties into. But I have a feeling, and then so this runs here, ties into, and yeah, just jump down in the hole, ties into this vent, and it ties into the filter. So that way, you know, we purge out this airlock. It basically either dumps it back into the room or dumps it into the filter system, probably the filter system, and then this lets it pull everything out of the CO2 out of here. Everything but CO2 out of the greenhouse. So we should have... See, nothing in there. And the thing is this hasn't even been on, so... We've got oxygen. Let's see if we hook this. Yeah, it's somewhere around in here. Or where that ties in up there, basically. Okay, where did my tablet go? Ah, there it is. So CO2, O2 right there. Well, that's not even used. And then we're fine there. And we've got a CO2, O2 mix there. Which we shouldn't have anything there. I mean, we should get some CO2 in here, especially since we haven't been running it. Because that's the whole purpose of this, is because we're going to generate CO2 when we're in the sleeper. So it will pull out, it's going to pull out oxygen. Oh, maybe that's what we did. Maybe that's what I did. Waste. No, yeah, because the output is oxygen. So it's dumping the oxygen back into the system, which is what we want. And then anything else, which should be CO2, should go up into that tank, or that line, which is empty, so that's worked. So somewhere, one of these lines is not the way we want it to be. All right. So let's open this up with our huge mess of cable, or pipes, I should say. Okay. And let's go up there and see what's going on. So, nothing. That's good. We want nothing. Oxygen, CO2. Which, yes, that just ties in to feed oxygen to that. So, really, that's the same line. It's running up. And tying into. Good thing we hadn't pressurized the base, because that runs through the ceiling. Okay. And that should be running back to that filter. I believe on that one. And that is the base atmosphere that ties into like over there. I do believe. Which we contaminated all that because we had to purge it. Or when we combined all the tanks with the big one before we refiltered everything. But that's on the back. Well, no, because that's on the back side of a regulator. Oh, that one. Yeah, I accidentally hit the wrong button on that and ran it as an input. So that's going to be... It's got to be... So, yeah, nothing, which is, that's the input on there. Yeah, that's running to the filter. So question is why are we getting O2 in this line, or CO2 in this line. Somewhere. Might be in here. I wonder if I hooked this up on the wrong side when I redid this. No, I don't see anywhere. So CO2, that's all O2. That's all O2. Oh, autosave. Okay, O2, O2, CO2. All right, let's trace it back on this side. So that's... So it's nothing coming from there because that's the mixer. So we can't back feed on that. So maybe it's the suit station? No, it can't be because we didn't hook up the waistline. Yeah, and that's a pressure regulator feeding in. Oh, wait. What? We got a three-way here. CO2, O2, CO2, O2, CO2, O2. Okay. CO2, O2. Okay, so we can't backfeed on that, so we're fine there. And this should just run right over to the O2 tank. Maybe it just got contaminated when we... Oh, wait. So CO2, O2, come down, CO2, O2, come down, CO2, O2, and then this ties into our O2 tank. But our O2 tank's 100%, so where are we getting in this? Should just tie over to the furnace. So we should, that should just be a pressure regulator on that side. Yeah, there should be a mixer right there. Yeah. Okay, so I don't see anywhere. I'm going to assume that that line was contaminated when... Well, I think it's when we had all the lines connected. For the, you know, when we dumped everything out into our holding tank until, you know, we got the new system, because we had to basically tear down all the small tanks. So, if we open the purge system, we should start pulling all the CO2 out, and it should not come back in. That also means I have a huge... I gotta reseal all this up now again. But that's weird, because I don't think... Why would it not have pulled out of that, though? I mean, I could see... You know, I could see here. Okay, so that is pulling out now. Huh. Because this line was cut here. So we had that existing section. So maybe when we joined everything in and it was the small tank, because this was pressurized a lot higher because it was a small tank. So maybe when we hooked up the big tank, I don't know, you think it would have all equalized. It's kind of weird it didn't back run into the tank though. That is really weird that the tank is still at 100%. I don't know. But it is running and filtering. I mean, we've already dropped from 75.25 to 93.7. So it will pull everything out, and then I'm assuming that's what it is because there's nothing to put CO2 back into there's not more coming back in. It's not maintaining it. All right. Ugh. So yeah, I'm gonna seal all this back up. But I guess it was better to do that now when the base was pressurized. Plus, our O2 tank's gonna be contaminated. Maybe. I think. Can't remember if we swap. Yeah, because we did swap it out. Oh, the chat on the screen. Yeah. I don't know. I figured I'd see how it goes. Um, because I did get the notification that YouTube, they now play back the chat as you watch if you watch the stream later on. And we'll grab walls on that side. No, it's not, but we can go ahead and dump that out. I'll let it pull all this stuff out, and then we can just we fill the tank a couple of times. Yeah. Well, I figured I kind of like the idea of that because that way, I don't know, if somebody doesn't want to read the chat, they don't have to because if they're like full screen, I'm assuming they're not going to see it that way. And drop that down there. I just got all this put back together too. But like I said, at least it's now. Okay, I think that's all the grab that. That's flooring, flooring. There's a wall section. Yeah, I know. That's why I did like having it on the thing because that way, if somebody watches it later on, then they're gonna see, you know, basically what everybody was, the other half of the conversation. You know what? I'm just gonna go do the walls later on because otherwise I'm gonna be juggling stuff in my inventory constantly. Okay, well, we'll get this all buttoned up. And we'll just work our way. Yeah, we can get that from the greenhouse. Now let's try not to cut any of the cables to the solar panel. Oh, that's kind of funky. Not sure exactly what that is, but that's interesting. I may have to go check that out later on if it's still there, whatever it is. It might disappear when I get close. Yeah, there's been some weird stuff going on with the like the craters. I've like got sunlight shining through the craters now, and I'm assuming it's, well, they're, doing stuff. It was right after they did the um, something about making the it was something with the terrain. I can't remember what it was. Okay. Well, good. At least we know we actually had everything hooked up right. All right. So that's good. We had power issues. We had, which turned out to be probably just the AC running too much now because it's getting colder. Though we did have, it was a good thing we went down there because we did have to fix the because we did have to fix the circuit there that wasn't reading right. So yeah, I don't think we got to actually anything in this episode that I had planned on getting it to, which was namely the greenhouse circuit and getting the greenhouse up and running. Which that's kind of bummer because I did want to get the greenhouse up and running. All right, so now the question is do I have more than, the question is how many, oh, did I leave any over here? No. Okay, so there's a flooring piece there. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I probably will rename it. I usually do if it ends up not matching for some reason like this where, some random issue crops up all of a sudden. I do usually try to rename it so, people, know kind of what they're getting. All right, where no, I wouldn't have pulled that one off because the line didn't run over there. So why do I have, and I missed on a block somewhere obviously because I've got 3 sheets and only 1 wall. So, oh, okay, maybe not because there's there. Okay. Oh, and actually, since we know that this is right now, we can put the floor back. Okay, now, where did we get this last steel plate from? And last section of wall. Oh, well, right here. Look at that. We weren't short pieces. We didn't have extra pieces. That's, kind of rare. Plans. Yeah. All right, floor grading. Let's get this all put back together. All right, well, that's good. We didn't actually you know, pipe something, I guess, for, you know, miss plumb, I guess. All right, wow, I think we actually got everything back together now. Oh, and that does not need to be on. So, let's see what our oxygen is down to. And then probably what I'll do is, I might cross connect that oxygen line with the return line, which would be easy enough to do. They run right side by side. It'll let it drain that, but it won't be able to drain past the mixer. Yeah, I'll put another battery down. I think I may have, well, I did it last episode. Yeah, I got one in the corner. There's still, so we got a battery there. We could still put one, if we move this over, we could put one more battery. But, and I still haven't figured out if that's the transformers or the batteries that make that noise. Assuming it's the transformers. Yeah, it must be, because it's not, I'm not getting it over here. Yes. But now the ACs were draining an insane amount of power. So, all right, and oh, there it is. Ah, and that would be why. And actually, we can pull that out of there too. And did we? Okay, we did turn it off, and that's off. And so the oxygen system. Oh, well, that's nitrogen. Let's go over to the oxygen tank. It'll probably be easier to tell. Hey, 100% oxygen. So we can shut that valve back off. Yeah, I know. I know, right? I should actually spray paint them red. That would be kind of funny. I might actually do that. Okay, yes. So we are at 100% no contamination. Good. And that should give us 100% up here now. Yes. If I could actually kind of like, you know, read it. Yeah, 100% O2. So now we'll just take this because we know it is contaminated. And we will dump it in there. All right. Let's go ahead and put this back. Yeah. All right, we'll let that drain out. I wonder if we could put that on a volume pump, because that would probably go a lot faster. Not that it usually really takes that long, but we could probably pull the data off of there to read pressure from the tank. Maybe activate a volume pump. Yeah, that's weird. We're still getting, and maybe what we will do is, oh, you know what we can do? Well, not pull out a battery. Here, put it in there. Ow. Yeah, we can drain it that way. Since, obviously the easier way to do too is we could just pull out the pipe and let it drain that way. Which might actually work better now that I think about it, because it's going to slowly... Yeah, let's not open my helmet. Yeah. Yeah, y- oh my God. Any more warnings you would like to tell me about? Is my door ajar? Thank you. All right, I think it's going to be easier just to pull out that piece of pipe. We'll just put another piece of pipe in there. There we go. And do it that way. And then it won't be, that'll get rid of all the contamination. I know. Oh, somebody, there's a mod. That's a mod we need right now, is a door ajar warning. And you could just make him randomly play it. Kind of like how sometimes it'll just sit randomly say high pressure or low pressure in your suit for no apparent reason. Whichever one it says there. Okay, so now, and I never figured out, I'm pretty sure it does not do this. I don't think I've ever checked this. Yeah, it's not, it won't actually read it as having something. Now, if I do this though, I've never checked that. Nope, okay. Yeah, it counts it as a new network. I was gonna say that was one thing I never checked when we were having issues with the spontaneously combusting hydrogen. Was it actually draining? You know, if we pulled a piece of pipe up. Hey, look, this is that pipe. Well, where the hell did that come? Oh, this is the one that was on my. Oh, okay. So the one I actually lost was the good one. That kind of figures. Oh, and that tank was not back there because we pulled it. Oh, unless it's inside that one. Okay, 100. Yep. So 100% oxygen. Very nice. So no more contamination in that. Unfortunately, we do have some contamination in that. But you know what? That's not going to make a difference on the fuel. I mean, it's still going to burn. Um, so I'm not going to worry about that. And obviously, we're going to generate CO2 when we burn the fuel anyway. All right. Well, that kind of put negative 132. Yeah, so we're still drawing out. And 20. So we could go ahead and just set that. Well, now it's going to try to heat, though. I still want to try to get that to 30. I'm just going to leave it because I like to preheat it before it gets to the greenhouse. Yeah. Now, we are still going to have to. I mean, that's not, there's not that much in there. But I probably will just so we don't contaminate the base air as soon as we um, pressurize it. Which I am so tempted to do. But we got to get, I definitely want to get the greenhouse done. So yes, I'll have to relabel this episode because obviously we basically went around chasing a couple of base issues that really, I know, but it's not flashing red yet. I don't worry about it. If I'm in the base, I don't usually worry about it until my light cuts off. Because really that's, everything still works. Oh no, so that tank did come back. So that tank must have popped out of the wall when I did open it up. That one that kind of clipped through. And I'm just going to recycle it because I don't really need it anyway. Oh, actually, oh, it did give me back to me. I wasn't sure if it was going to or not, if it was where it was damaged. All right. And I want to... There we go. All right. So, let me see. Yeah, we're all good on this now. Obviously, we need more lighting and stuff. All right, so I'm going to call this good for this episode. We're almost at an hour and a half, and it is quite late my time now. So, like I said, I'll rename this episode, and then the plan is in the next episode, we'll basically pick up and do the stuff that we planned on doing this episode. And yeah, now our power is running fine. And the plan will be is that we will make the changes to the greenhouse circuit. What was that? Since the cooling the CO2 below 30? No, because I'm not sure how much of an air exchange we're gonna have, so I don't want it dropping it too low. The base heat is set to 36 point. It's set to not to get any warmer than 36.8. So if it's, and I think the minimum is set to 30 basically. So if it comes in at 30 and it heats up, then that's fine. But I don't want it to. I don't want it to come in so low that we're running the heater all the time, because then there's 1,000 watts going all the time. What I do want to do is I might either rip out this radiator system and use that to expand the main one, and then run the greenhouse into the main radiator system. That way it can dump all the heat from here into the main radiator, and then that way we'll always have a bit of heat in there for anything we're trying to heat. Well, it was before. That was because the furnace. It was basically the way the radiator, where the ACs were set up in series. They weren't cooling enough by the time it got to the last one. Well, the radiator's out here. So, we have the main radiator on this side, on the other side of this wall here. I'm thinking about getting rid of the greenhouse one, or basically taking the radiators out from the greenhouse, just going ahead and expanding this maybe, and just running the line from the ACs over there across and tying into this. That would give us a bigger radiator system. Well, that's before we ran into the issue of we're having a massive draw on power, because the radiator's cooled off so much that we're not getting enough heat out of it. The temperature differential is so extreme, 132.9, and we're still dropping. So the thought is either, we cut down the size of the radiator, or we find sources of heat to dump into it. I didn't really want to run a line all the way across, but, the greenhouse is something that, as long as it's running, it's going to be dumping heat into it. So, and yeah, yeah. I just didn't want to, I don't want the radiator system to get so hot that that would be funny. Um, I don't want the radiator system to get so hot that then we're going to be basically using a ton of power to cool stuff. So it's, we're going to have to keep a balance. And yeah. All right. So I'm going to call it good for this episode. Like I said, we'll pick up where we planned on being at the beginning of this episode, with expanding the logic system to, well, trying to, because I have to figure that one out, to monitor the air pressure, and the air ratio in the greenhouse. Along with, we've got the heating and cooling, so we can actually pull off the reader for, we've already getting the pressures and stuff. And then we can pull it off, so, we can try to bring the greenhouse up to 100 kPa, and basically if it gets over that, it's going to pull the O2 off. Not that I heard. I heard we're just supposed to get high winds. When is that supposed to be? And for some reason, my weather data is not even pulling up. Oh. Huh. Yeah, I've just got a... yeah, mine doesn't say snow. It just says storm warning. I'm just supposed to get like gusts. Well, this is actually 9 a. Well, that's 9 a.m. Friday until 1 a.m. Saturday. I don't know. Maybe where I'm at it's just going to be rain. Oh yeah, yeah. It's just going to be rain for me. I'm going to be up at like 45 degrees, which is insanely warm for this time of year. But oh, I do see some. There is actually a thing here now on yeah, nor'easter. Oh, yep, stupid ads. Yeah, yeah. It looks like we're not going to get anything though from where we're at. But I did have, like I was saying, my power was, my internet did cut out a little bit. So I think there is some areas that are, I'm hopefully won't. And that is weird. That is still, I can still see that. All right, before we end the episode, we're going to go run out there and look at that. And I'm so tempted, since I don't think we're actually going to open anything up, is just to go ahead and start pressurizing the greenhouse, because we are going to have to get it heated up. And that does take a while. Ah, there we go. Ah, CO2. I love that the only place in my base that's pressurized right now is with atmosphere that I can't breathe. All right. Well, I'm glad you enjoy it. And this airlock? Well, this one has two. If you're talking about the one for the greenhouse, there's two. One goes, and just in case, oh, shoot. Son of a. All right, let's go back that way. If you're talking about the one for the greenhouse, there's two there, but one is to go to the greenhouse, and one is to go to, one is to go back to the base, since we kind of, it's a manually. Yeah, it's got two in, but for some reason, it still seems to go slow for some reason. And I don't really. Yeah, they've. Oh, yeah, okay, that's all that stuff. Yeah, landfill. I did turn the tracker on, right? I know I realized that I forgot the tablet, and I went to go get it. Now I can't remember if I turned the tracker on. I did not turn the tracker on, so it's a good thing I came back and checked, because I don't really feel like getting lost. Yeah, I could try that. Yeah, what is with that big? I'm guessing maybe it's just the train gets higher over there. I don't know why I'm seeing so far over there now is. It's kind of weird that it's just kind of like floating there. I guess it's nothing. It's just more land. Oh yeah, no, I do, and it's been driving me nuts. Huh. That is so strange that that's just randomly staying loaded over there. And the way this is loading, I'm thinking I haven't even been over here. Yeah, yeah, okay. Which would be kind of strange. I could have swore I've been over there. Especially since it's within pretty much viewing distance of the base. Oh, did you see that they're making a new Lost in Space movie? I saw the trailer for that the other day. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I know the. Oh, is it? Hmm. I didn't like the voice of the robot in the trailer either. I was like, that's not how he should sound. All right. Yeah, and I'm really hoping we get like a terraforming tool at some point. You know, which they've been doing a lot of stuff on the terrain. I don't know if that's just to increase performance, or maybe it's in preps of hopefully having it some type of terraforming tool so we can fill in holes, which would be awesome. All right, and we're at 100%, so probably I'm gonna kick in the oxygen. That one I like to get up to temperature if we can, just so when we pressurize the base. Nitrogen doesn't matter so much since obviously we don't have enough of it. Oh wow. Yeah, see, I didn't read anything about it. I saw one trailer like yesterday, I think it was. Okay. All right. So we kind of tracked down some issues in the base, which weren't really issues, turns out. And I do want to go in there and see what we're pressurizing to, because strangely enough, and I think it's just kind of been it's just the way the airflow works out. But we always seem to be around 30, and this might still be pressurizing a little bit, but we always seem to be around 34 or so degrees in or kPa in here. And I think it's just the way that the return balances out with the intake, or the yeah, return and intake, the output and the intake. Um, so we always seem to be around there, which is high enough to grow in, so that's fine. And I haven't really worried about it, but I would like to get some control in there. So, and then that way we can set this vent. Well, this is a passive, so it's not that big of a deal. But that way we can have that filter kick on and off, and we can have this one shut off. So we're, basically not wasting power, just having it constantly circulate if it doesn't need to. And then that way we can generate. Well, we should do it by the ratio too. I'm guessing we should set a Yeah, that was yeah. I want to go ahead and set it for 100. I think. Um, yeah, I want to tell it to pressurize it, um, and I want to set it to. Uh, I want to. I don't know if we'll do this tomorrow or not, but I'd like to get it set up to do a circuit that says pressurize it up to 100, and we want to keep the CO2 ratio above a certain amount. So, um, because we do have to keep a minimum amount in there. Yeah, something. I mean, I like to keep it mostly. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd pretty much keep it all CO2. But we could, we could make it so that we could take our helmet off in the, the greenhouse. But unless they add like some type of, like um, if you wear the spacesuit, like makes you slower, there's not really a point to take it off. I mean, if they do like okay, you move faster if you have your spacesuit off, or I don't know, or if I could crouch if I had my spacesuit off, I don't know. Um, because I mean, we can just, if we open the helmet, then it's basically the same thing as having the suit, like off. So yeah, I don't, you know, there's not really a reason not to wear the suit. I didn't forget about it. It's just not at the top of my priority list. I wanted to really get the purge station up and get some of this stuff going. And, which is kind of good because, last episode we put the purge system in. And then this episode we figured out that the oxygen was contaminated because that light's not wired up yet. I went through and when I was cleaning up, and actually that light's not wired up yet, or that one either, or that one. Um, when I went through and cleaned up, I had all the lights, and I was like, "Oh well, I'm gonna put them in here anyway." And I just kind of threw them somewhere. Like I'm gonna move that one over there, and then it'll kind of be balanced on that. You know, that one I might not need if I put that one all the way over there. I might not need one there. But I just kind of threw some around, and I was thinking about just putting a light in front of each tank. Because that would kind of be spaced well apart. And does it bother anybody else that that's the only small tank in here? Because it kind of does bother me that that's like it just doesn't seem right. um, and we do have steel, so I could actually make another four tank kits, and then we could actually just set this to purge. No, I don't want to get sick when I walk into the room. I was gonna paint the tanks though, because well, leave oxygen white, put the nitrogen green, yeah, and I don't know after that, pollution black, and you know, figure out water blue, and then I don't know hydrogen pink or something. Who knows? And then that way I'll color code the pipes to all those. But yes, at some point, especially since we do have some steel right now that it's not really slated for anything, and we do have the purge system, so I can go ahead and dump it out, and I'll just turn the filter off. Oh no, that won't work. Uh, well, how do I want to do that? Okay, so that's the one drawback to the way we have this set up now. So we can't drain the tank, opposed to you know, this one with this setup is we could, if we open this, shut off the filter, it's going to completely drain the tank because it's going to put it back into this end of the system. So that is the one drawback with that setup. Um, but honestly, hmm. The way to do it would be is take that valve out and put a volume pump there, and then that would basically do the same thing as it would purge the system and force it. That would have probably that would actually that's actually a really good idea. So when we automate this, instead of just having like a digital valve and do the ratios, we can just put a volume pump, because that way if we want to completely purge it, we just shut off the filtration, run the volume pump. It's going to suck everything out of the system, throw it on this side. As soon as it's empty, we can basically have it turn that off, and it'll run through and basically refilter it, and we'll be at 100%. So yeah, that's actually pretty good. And then that way, if we do want to just purge it because we want to change the tank or move the tank or who knows, you know, they add even bigger tanks. Yeah, hopefully. I'm hoping they're not adding any bigger tanks anytime soon, because this room's already big enough. And yeah, and then because we got the radiator there, so I'd hate to have to move all that. Oh, is it? Well, I don't know. That's been a couple days ago, and I've had a cold, so I'm a little out of it. Um, do we still have? How do we still have stuff in the system? Oh, we're gonna get some stuff back now because the greenhouse is running, so it's gonna be filtering out anything that was in there. No, I don't want to have seizures when I walk in here. And oh, so why is all right? What's going on here? We're getting pressure, but our volume pump is not kicking on. Did atmospherics crash and I didn't notice? Logic writer off. Logic writer on. Oh, yeah, that's not set right. That's what it is. So the logic writer is supposed to be writing to. Oh, no, wait a minute. Yeah, that logic writer is supposed to be reading from compare unit, batch writer. Okay, the batch writer is the AC. That's supposed to be writing to the volume pump. So, yes, volume pump on, but it's supposed to be reading from waste pressure compare, not waste pressure reader. Yay! Look at that. Now it works. There we go. It's just one of those things. And now it'll drain out. Yeah, I don't know if I hit that by accident, because I could have swore it was working earlier. Yeah, well, that's usually what it is. Half the time I set these and I'm looking at the one down below instead of the one up above. So basically what it's going to be on next. Oh, bad habit, but anyway. So yeah, now we'll drain out. Let's see. That should be pulling all the pollutants out from the greenhouse now. So very nice. That'll filter out. And we should, since we have a little bit, and that one's actually not hooked up because we cut that wire. So I think this is actually the only working return that we have in the base right now. So we'll just let that run, and it can pull the pressure out of the base and get any of the plume, because we've got quite a, well, not really. We got a little bit, but from using the jetpack and whatnot. No, I don't want to know. Yeah, I know. I thought about that when I was putting them there. Yeah, there's going to be an exposed corner. I really hope they'll get either that model changed so that, I don't know, when it knows that there's another like piece at a 90, it does like a miter, or they just give us another part to place on there. Yeah, there's two spots. Yeah. Which, if it really bothers me, I could just move that back. Or honestly, I don't even have to see that tank. I could just wall across that completely, and then we could just have the displays on it, because we don't need to access any of that. And we can just have readouts with the pressures and stuff. All right, yeah, and we'll let that depressurize. All right, so we're now at an hour and 47 minutes. I'm gonna call it good for this episode. I've got to get to bed. I will probably be doing a few streams tomorrow. I think, like I mentioned in the last episode, I have tomorrow off. I do have a cold, but I'm planning on sleeping in and sleeping for quite a bit. But since I don't have to go to work, I will probably be streaming earlier. And yeah, and we'll basically pick right up where the well, that's not filling up very fast. Holy cow. Yeah, I just still wanted to make sure it was at 100%. And why is that filling so slow? That should be quite a bit higher than that by now. I don't know. I really hope they speed these up one of these days. But yeah, that seems like that should be way higher than that by now. Anyway. All right. Well, this is Mickey D. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Suggestions, comments, always welcome below. And I will see you in episode 64, which should be tomorrow. Have a good night.